Hi guys, Tugur here with a new video, and as promised, this will be an Enhancement Shaman PvP guide video for 10.0.7. We got a few class changes, like class tree changes, and just in general, I wanted to showcase the build I'm playing in Solo Shuffle, where I have somewhat great success with it. At least from the moment I changed to that build, I actually gained 500 CR and also MMR. But right now, I want to give you a beware. Right now, Enhancement Shaman is probably a worse version than a Retribution Paladin right now, because everything they have is times 2 from what we have. So I would recommend to not jump into Solo Shuffle right now until Retribution Paladin is actually nerfed. But that is all the way. We are going to talk about what you can expect of this video. You will expect stats. So I'm going to give you the best stats possible for Enhancement Shaman. The build I'm running, and that is the only build I'm going to talk about, because it's also the only build I really firmly believe is probably the best into Solo Shuffle and 3v3. You can also play the Lava Lash build, but again, spoiler alert, it's not the Lava Lash build. We're going to talk about also PvP talents. We're going to talk about just in general comps, what you can play, and your role into Solo Shuffle and what you can expect in Solo Shuffle in general. Right now with Retribution Paladin, it's out of the way. I think for every single class, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually climb. And I'm going to give you my final thoughts behind the Enhancement Shaman video. Also, rotation, I'm going to discuss it a bit, but rotation on Enhancement Shaman is pretty simple, but I'm going to talk about it as well at the end of the video. Now let's start right away with the stats. We're going to say that I am running full haste. Thank you, my soul club, for joining and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. So stats wise, we are around 20%, like no PvP, 20%. So I think it's 25% haste. In total, we have like, I think, close to 30% versatility, and we have a bit of mastery and a bit of crit, but that's because we don't really have any choice. We run Sophic Devotion on one weapon and Wafting Devotion on the other weapon. We have accelerated agility, of course, for the chest. We have speed enchants because we do need some speed. We like to have 15% speed at all times. We have first armor kit, always nice. Planesrunner's breeze, and of course we jam it versatility haste because we do like that versatility and we do like haste again. We have also enchants on 82 versatility on both the rings. But as a whole, that's pretty much a choice. And we run the 4 set because we do like haste again. 10% haste is really cool, and you can ramp up very quickly. And having Storm Strike actually improving your Elemental Blast or your Lightning Bolt is also very nice as well. Okay, and also causing it to generate 1 additional stack of Mushroom is also quite nice. Now let's talk right away. What would you want, Insignia or the badge? Personally, I prefer the Insignia because, again, you're going to burst also with RNG, and that's also very great. And in general, you do want to have haste instead of crit. I think the badge gives crit, and it's not really cool to have that because it's actually pretty useless. Races, again, I want to talk about races again because the people are asking me. As Alliance, you do want to play Dark Iron Dwarf or Dwarf. Those two are legit good, because you want to have like some poison cleansing or like magic cleansing, which is also quite nice. And Dark Iron Dwarf can also give you some interesting damage boost. For Alliance, and for Horde, I would recommend Orc or Tauren, depending on what you are looking for. Tauren will be quite good in 10.1 because your stun will be 2 seconds regardless, and that's actually one of the better stuns, AoE stuns in the game. Now let's talk about the build. So you see on my keybinds, we do not have Lava Lash nor Ice Strike, but I'm going to talk right away first on the class tree. There is a few changes. I'm going to, you can see the class tree with my camera. So pretty much they changed a few things, which helps you to actually take a few talents, and it also kind of ruins you by making you choose different talents. So we have a few flexible talents. I'm going to discuss about that. But first and foremost, bringing with life is something that you should take because it gives you 8% more maximum health in arenas, because reincarnation is always going to be off cooldown, and that's actually increased health. And then you have Earth Elemental that is also going to give you 15%. So basically at the start of the match you will have probably one of the bigger health pools in the game, which is very noticeable, and people are going to focus you regardless, so you want to have more HP. You have Thunderous Paws, which is, again, you can choose between Spirit Wolf and Thunderous Paws, but I do like Thunderous Paws, so whenever I'm going to Ghost Wolf, it removes snares, and also it will increase your movement speed by an additional 25%, so you will be zooming until you can actually cast and catch your enemies. Actually very good versus frost mages, and also very good versus Retribution Paladin if you actually need to run away. You also play Plains Traveler or Astral Bulwark. In my opinion, in matches where you think it's going to end in 1 minute, you can play with Astral Bulwark. In matches where you feel like you will need a second Astral Shift, you should go for Plains Traveler. But right now, Astral Shift is a 12-second duration, so it's quite nice to have Astral Bulwark, because then you are pretty much unkillable for that duration, but afterwards you are going to suffer a bit. Wind Shear, very strong. Again, I recommend people to interrupt as much as you can, make a focus macro and try to interrupt the healers, because that is the way to actually win the games. Tremor Totem, very strong as well. You always pick that anyways. Earth Grab Totem, very good as well. You want to root people. And now you have the Flex Talents, which is Elemental Warding and sometimes Nature's Guardian. Nature's Guardian is actually very difficult to take versus this like Priest in general, because if they mind games you and you are brought below 35%, you kind of can kill yourself because of that. So sometimes I just hop it out from the tree and I spend those points elsewhere. For example, if I need a cleanse, I will go for Healing Tree Totem into Cleanse Spirit, or I put, for example, other points elsewhere, let's say Ancestral Wolf Affinity and Lava Burst for a second Elemental Blast, which sometimes is very annoying to not play with it, but you can also remove Elemental Warding. If you're playing versus melees, you do not really need Elemental Warding, so you can put those points in Lava Burst and Ancestral Wolf Affinity, or even Lava Burst into Fire and Ice and make your damage from Elemental Blast even higher. But in general, those are the flex points. I do play with Go With The Flow most of the time. Excuse me. Go with the flow most of the time. It gives you a 40-second Spirit Walk, which is quite nice as well. We have Astral Guidance, a very good CD to use whenever you are like in a pinch. Heals you, but also your allies, which is quite nice. And the things that are very annoying on this tree is you have to take Chain Heal to get Earth Shield. But Earth Shield is very important, man. You should always take Earth Shield. There is no way you're not going to play with Earth Shield. You could not play Earth Shield, but then again, you're going to miss out a lot of passive healing. And we'll play with Elemental Orbit, so we have Earth Shield and Lightning Shield up at all times. And you have also Surging Shields giving you extra Maelstrom weapons whenever they're focusing you, which is, let's be honest, every single game. And you have also Lightning Shield doing some pretty good damage. To be honest, sometimes it can be top 3 damage because people are like focusing you like super hard. And also increasing the health from Earth Shield. Again, very nice. There's a way where you can play with Gust of Wind, but I will be honest, I do not like Gust of Wind as an Enhancement Shaman. It's not precise enough. And I do like the Spirit Walk into a Ghost Wolf with Thunderous Paws. Like, I'm zooming towards the enemies without like them being able to stop me. Now let's talk about the meat and potatoes of that spec. We need to talk about a spec tree. You're going to say, but Thomas, Togray, Lava Lash and Ice Strike, why are you not taking it? First and foremost, we have so much button bloat that I do not want to have more buttons, especially since it does the same damage as a Storm Strike. Especially with this build, there's no real reason to do Ice Strike or even like the Hailstorm, because again, Frost Shock is doing some good damage, but you have to sacrifice a lot of points for it, like at least 3 points into Lava Lash. So even if you're playing Hailstorm with Ice Strike, you will have to use your points into Lava Lash, which again results into button bloat. And I'm playing full haste, so I do not care about really too much elemental damage. What I want to do is some great physical damage. And that's why I'm like counting on Wind Fury weapon, Forceful Winds, Unruly Winds, and Doom Winds to do this. And also Wind Fury Totem is actually very nice. It works be wary. It really works for Enhancement Shaman. Sometimes people are saying that it doesn't work for you, but it does work. And whenever you are actually like doing doom wins with a Wind Fury totem with heroism, you're going to slap people. Slap. And then some people are saying like heroism doesn't work in PvP. We play with shamanism, which is the PvP talent, to be able to use heroism on yourself and your friend for 10 seconds, giving you 20% haste, which is a mini PI. Again, very cool. You should play with that, and you will like be slapping people every minute, basically. Elemental Blast, again, something you're going to use whenever you can, because it will boost your damage, mastery, haste, crit, everything is always going to be nice to have that as well. We are playing with, again, as much modifiers as possible on Storm Strike, so we have Converging Storms, which is nerfed in PvP, but still useful to do. We have Storm Flurry, we have elemental weapons, very nice for our elemental blast damage, but also our lightning bolt damage that is very relevant. I'm going to show you afterwards. We have Storm Blast, again, a modifier that is going to give you more damage on your Storm Strike. You will feel like you're going to do a lot of damage, while on details it doesn't really show it, but that's mostly because Storm Blast is on a separate details line, so you may not notice it, but the damage is very nice. Sundering, very good, very important spell. You should always try to use it to interrupt casts or just give you some breathing room versus a few specs. So those are the main things. I'm going to talk about Feral Spirit. Feral Spirit is actually giving you increased physical damage. Unless if you're going for Elemental Spirits, that will then not give you physical damage. So if you want to do a Storm Strike build, which is a physical ability with some nature damage here and there, even whenever you get like Ascendance, it is Wind Strike, which is physical damage. It just goes through armor, but it is still physical. Feral Spirit is going to increase that. And then you have Witch Doctor's Ancestry, which I put only 1 point into it, because I felt like I still get my Feral Spirits quite easily and quite fast. And it doesn't really matter 2 points or 1 point, I still get the benefit from it. And I do not sacrifice Legacy of the Frostwitch or Elemental Assault, which are both great modifiers for Storm Strike, because if you're using 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon, you will get 25% increased physical damage, which again increase your Storm Strike damage. And then you have like 20% increased damage on Storm Strike and a stack of Maelstrom. So whenever you're doing a Storm Strike, you're going to get insane amounts of Maelstrom, because you have your 4 set and you have your talents, which is going to give you a lot of Maelstrom and a lot of uptime. So those are like the three important talents that you really want to actually make that build smooth, because this is a smooth build. It is actually very fun to play with it. And then you have the little secret sauce, which is deeply rooted elements. You can actually play with Ascendance, which is a 3-minute CD. That's the only annoying part. But every 3 minutes, you're going to, or at least on the start of the game, you can basically one-shot someone. But what I do like on deeply rooted elements is it can pop multiple times, and it is random, so people cannot really track it, and you can do some big damage. And then I tried to theory craft, like I was saying, look, Ice Strike doesn't do too much for me. I feel like it's not like I'm able to kill people with it. I'm still full haste, and there's no way for me to go for Hailstorm if I'm actually building for physical damage. So what can I do? Let's think. Static Accumulation gives you extra Maelstrom weapon whenever you get Ascendance proc. And if it procs, you will get a lot of Maelstrom and a lot of damage. So you will have either a lot of healing surges, or a lot of elemental blasts, or a lot of lightning bolts. But there is not that, only that, there is also Torrentification. So whenever you have 5 Maelstrom weapons and you're doing a Wind Strike, it will automatically do a Lightning Bolt or a Chain Lightning, depending on the amount of enemies and what's your most used ability, because you have, right, the Lightning, right? That is your I'm going to ruin you button. So whenever you get a Ascendance proc and you have Doom Winds on, and you have your Heroism on, and you have your Feral Spirits on, and you have your Wind Fury Totem, that's when someone is going to be blowing up. And that's actually what is making me win most of my games. Like I'm going to show you right now. I am 2k rated. I lost multiple games, like 2 games on stream yesterday. because Retribution Paladin is now reworked and they can basically just ruin us and they are just a better version of us. So I might give us like a few words to that at the end of the video so you can actually understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying that, because there is no reason to now solo shuffle right now. So do look that video for the future whenever Retribution Paladin gets nerfed. If it gets nerfed, it will be better for you as an Enhancement Shaman, but right now if you're facing a Retribution Paladin, you will see like the clear difference between both specs. And they have the same purpose as well, so it's a bit different. But I won 500 CR directly by switching those talents and switching those gameplay values. I think it's the best build I ever played with Enhancement Shaman. I don't know if it's the most fun build, because I think the most fun build was the Primordial Wave build, where you could actually do some sick lightning bolt damage, but that got nerfed into the ground, because again, Blizzard is not going to wait 10,000 years to nerf Enhancement Shaman, but be sure that they will wait for Rogues and Retribution Paladins. But actually, Retribution Paladin actually gets also nerfed quite fast, but again, I'm a bit salty with that because Enhancement Shaman doesn't have Shamanistic Rage, while they have the Shamanistic Rage. We actually ask a 1-minute CD wall that is going to be used while stunned. Why don't we have that? Anyways. So that is pretty much the build. I'm going to talk about PvP talents and what is actually interchangeable. Newsflash, there is nothing to change really except the second talent. So Shamanism is the one thing that is actually making you very bursty every minute. And whenever you have Doomwinds and Shamanism and you have like every star aligning, you can basically kill someone. But you're also a great support spec. If you're putting Shamanism on a Destruction Warlock or a like cast in general, they're going to be thankful because they're going to cast a lot faster and they will do a lot more damage. Now in Soul Shuffle, sometimes they're just not doing anything because they don't know they have Shaman like heroism on them, but if they know and they know how to work, they're going to blast for you. But you are going to be a menace as well. And then you have Thunder Charge, which is going to get removed in 10.1, so I don't even know if I'm willing to talk about it. Ethereal Form, I'm going to talk about it because it's actually useful versus Retribution Paladin. They have now Holy Strike damage, and Holy Strike damage doesn't go through Ethereal Form. So if you want to be safe and not die, and you feel like they're bursting to you, go Ethereal Form, and you can basically just laugh at their face until you are out of the form, and you're going to inevitably will probably die from the Retribution Paladin. But it is also going to be removed in 10.1. Skyfury Totem doesn't really have a lot of ways to interact with your build right now. It's actually very good versus like as an Elemental Shaman, like a Enhancement Shaman Elemental build. So basically full mastery, and you're trying to do the biggest elemental blast. Sky Fury Totem can give you that. Unleash Shield is actually quite nice as the second talent here. Instead of Counter-Strike Totem, for example, I play with Unleash Shield if I want to kite as much as I can. Retribution Paladin could be actually a very good it's a good solution for Retribution Paladin, I think. Spectral Recovery is useless. Grounding Totem, actually very good versus casters. I play that most of the time if I'm playing versus casters. Else, I'm playing Counter-Strike Totem if I'm playing versus physical damage dealers or just melees. But if they notice it too fast, like if it gets destroyed directly I've placed it, I replace it the next round by something else. Basically, this is a noob trap. If people like not breaking the Counter-Strike Totem, then you're going to play the whole round and the whole Soul Shuffle with it. If they do break it, just switch it out so you can actually have something useful. Swelling Waves, to be frank, I use Healing Surge quite often, but not as often to make it like very viable to use PvP as a PvP talent. And I do need the most utility possible, and this is just purely for me. And while a grounding totem can save a CC, for example, save your healer from a CC. Seasoned Winds is actually also a very good choice if you're playing versus Destruction Warlock and you're playing like a cleave versus a cleave. You can actually play Seasoned Winds instead of maybe Ride the Lightning, although it's really defensive, but Grounding Totem with Seasoned Winds will make you a lot more tanky. It also gets buffed in 10.1, which is also very good. Static Field Totem, something I'm not really playing these days because it's a 1-minute CD, and also it's people can just run out most of the time, and sometimes they just don't want to run out because they're with you and you cannot really kite because you get stunned. It is what it is. I feel like it's not that great. I think other talents are better. Traveling Storms is actually quite nice in RBGs, so if you like RBGs, you can really troll people with it. I think it's very cool as well. But most of the time I play with Grounding Totem, Groundstrike Totem, sometimes Seasoned Winds, and versus Double Physical, I might play Ethereal Form right now, but in 10.1 it will change. Ride the Lightning is the one thing that is going to give you more damage as well. Again, whenever you're going to do a Storm Strike, you have like multiple things that are actually going to do a lot of damage for you. And that's actually a very good thing, because if you're watching details, you're going to see Stormstrike critting or hitting for 30k, and that's not impressive, but you should also understand that Stormstrike has multiple layers. You have Storm Flurry, you have Storm Blast, you have Ride the Lightning, sometimes you have like a Wind Fury with a Wind Fury weapon actually running through with Doom Winds. So you have a lot of modifiers through it, and whenever you have Ascendance, because of the proc from Deeply Rooted Elements, you will have even more damage with, for example, a Lightning Bolt hitting for 50k or a Shade Lightning actually hitting for 35k. But if it crits, it does a lot of damage, right? So all in all, I think this build is quite funny to play, and it is actually quite relaxing to play as well. Comps wise, twos, you should probably not do twos, but if you want to do twos, please play double DPS. Don't smash your head with a healer and make it a dampening game and lose still in dampening because you don't have an MS effect. If you play double DPS, you can play with a Retribution Paladin. Big surprise, it is actually quite OP. And with a Warrior, you can also try to make it work. You can also work with a double hybrid, like for example Shadow Priest or Balance Druid or an Elemental Shaman or double Enhancement Shaman, I don't care. You can make it work. It's not the best, and I do not play twos myself because I do not like Enhancement Shaman in twos. But if you want to play twos and you want to like main Enhancement Shaman in every single front, then I would recommend to do double DPS. You will suffer versus rogues, you will suffer versus like rogue healer teams or hunter healer teams, but it is what it is. In threes, you want to play turbo most of the time. You can actually make it work with a hunter if they're actually good. They have to be good though. You can make it work with a windwalker. It's the same principle as an arms warrior, but with less peels. You can also make it work with a demon hunter. It's kind of the same as a warrior, but with less peels, more CC. So it depends on you and the ability from you to find other allies to play with you. I think it's quite nice. In Soul Shuffle, my impressions are you are pretty much B tier, which is good. It's a good tier. I do enjoy playing Enhancement Shaman. I do play a lot of Enhancement Shaman, but right now with Retribution Paladin actually reworked and how they work, it's not really as enjoyable because Retribution Paladin is very deadly. So I'm like not queuing at all right now. But I think they are quite fine. They just need a few survivability things, like for example Shamanistic Rage if one day it comes. On 10.1 you have like a burrow ability, so you can do Diglett, like for example in Pokemon, where you can basically avoid a lot of damage. I don't know if it's also possible to get healed through it, but I don't know. I have to test it. But you can actually burrow and have movement speed and actually like bump them whenever you're coming out. It's actually quite nice. It will help us, but I do prefer Shamanistic Rage. Just give us Shamanistic Rage, I think we would be very fine. I think if they would actually give us Stoneclaw Totem, the totem where you can get a shield and also a shield on your totems, that would be actually also very nice, because again, we need survivability. I think a shield could help us with that. So that would be also great, but for now we don't really have that. But in Social Fall, you have a lot of ways to kill your targets. You have some great control of Hex, although people are going to kick you, but it's better to get kicked instead of your healer. So I think it's also a big W if that happens. You have some utility, you have some good self-healing until you don't have CDs anymore. For example, Ancestral Guidance, whenever it's done, it's done. I think you have quite long CDs though, so if you don't kill the first minutes or the second minute, you're going to probably suffer. But in general, I think they are quite fine. They just need some help defensive wise, but I think damage wise we're quite good. Again, I'm like topping the meters most of the time. Okay, Counter-Strike Totem does a lot of damage as well, but like some people are like fighting through it because they don't know, right? And I think it's fun. I think it's fun to play Enhancement Shaman. That's the main thing. As long as you have fun, you should keep on playing. But right now, again, social is a bit ruined, so please just wait until they nerf Retribution Paladin, if they do, and that would be actually your server grace going into a social form. Now let's talk about the rotation. Uh, there is not too much to talk about because it's simple. You have Storm Strike, you have Frost Shock, you have Flame Shock, which is also something I'm always going to use. You have your Crashing Lightning, which improves your damage on Storm Strike, and again, Elemental Blast. So if you want to do some rotation, basically you just press Storm Strike on demand, put Earth Frost Shock always on the target, Feral Spirits into Doomwinds, into Heroism, into the Totem, and then you're going to be good. You're doing a lot of damage right now, and I did that, and unfortunately now my wolves are gone, but in general you're going to do some pretty good damage. And then if you want to control, you can do Lightning Lasso, and then you can go back with the Feral Lunge going in, and then you get a proc, for example, and that's the time where you're going to do a lot of damage. And every time you're going to do a wind strike, it is going to do some lightning bolt damage, and again, very very nice to do and to have. We have our Feral Spirits back up. We just go another time, and again you see like Feral Spirits are like literally a 30-second CD even with 1 point, so you don't really need to have like a second point into that talent to reset like Feral Spirits, because it's quite useless. It's quite useless. You have still a lot of ways to reset the cooldown quite fast, and in general you're going to also try to kite whenever you don't have CDs as well. So you're going to do it like this, and then you're going to go back with Heroism. So I'm gonna wait for my Feral Spirits to go back up. So I'll try to survive here. I put my Earth Elemental as well. Frost Shock, Flame Shock as well. Try to root them. Try for a Hex, count Hex because it's a dummy. And now you have Feral Spirits. Let go Heroism and Feral Spirits. And you have your Doomwinds up in 2 seconds. Doomwinds, let's go. And now that's go time. Someone is going to die. And that's pretty much how you play Enhancement Shaman, like burst wise and consistent damage wise. You just need to press Storm Strike whenever you can, Crash Lightning whenever you can. Of course, the more people you're going to hit with Crash Lightning, the better the damage will be on Storm Strike. And whenever you get a proc on your Storm Strike for Ascendance, that's the moment where you have to fight, man. You really have to fight. You don't even have to press Elemental Blast. You can, but you don't have to. And it will do Lightning Bolts or Shade Lightning depending on the amount of people you're facing. And just in general, I think it's a fantastic way to play the game. Again, like Feral Spirits being super low CD is very nice to have as well. So this is pretty much the rotation. Sundering, try to use it for CC, or at least interrupts. Lightning Lasso as well. Try to wind shear whenever you can. Try to reapply Earth Shield on you and your ally. It's very important. It's a lot of like sustained healing. It also increases the healing done to yourself, so it's actually very nice. And now I get a proc and I can just like Heroism and pretty much just spam Wind Strike. And the damage is still incredible, just incredible. You see the amount of Lightning Bolt I did, it's not really me pressing Lightning Bolt, right? It's the Ascendance procs, and sometimes I do press Lightning Bolt whenever I have nothing else to press. But it feels very good to play, and in general it's very fun to play Enhancement Shaman. Again, if you have questions in the comment section below, please let me know. Macros wise, there's not really a lot of macros that you can make for Enhancement Shaman. You can make a macro where you have Badge and Heroism, since it is a 1-minute CD if you play with Badge, but I do not play with Badge anymore. I have Focus macro for Wind Shear. I have also Off Heal, so Party 1 for example, to heal my allies with Healing Surge. Sometimes I don't use it because sometimes I want to heal with a Focus, for example. We have Doomwinds again. You can also put your badge on it, but I prefer to have Heroism with your badge in general. But I play with alacrity again, and those are the macros. You sadly cannot macro Doomwind's Heroism, Feral Spirits together, for example, because they are all GCDs. If you press Earth Shield, you see the GCDs, and the one that is not on GCDs, for example, Wind Shear, for example, the Trinket, or Astral Shift, Spirit Walk, all have no GCDs, but again, Feral Spirits, Heroism, Doomwinds, even Wind Fury Totem has a GCD, so you cannot micro it together. You could put Ancestral Guidance with, let's say, Feral Spirits or Heroism, but it's a 2-minute CD, so it's a bit awkward to macro it, but you could. And those were the macros section. What do I think about Enhancement Shaman? Well, I think Enhancement Shaman is in a great spot. Like, not in a great spot, but it will be better. We are like, the problem is with Enhancement Shaman is they are good in PvE, and when Blizzard feels like a class or spec is good in PvE, it will not give PvP buffs. I don't know why, but it works like that. When Arms Warrior was shit in PvE, they actually gave lots of buffs to PvP and PvE. Same for Fury, same for any other class in spec, but for classes that are actually really good in PvE, they're not going to give you buffs in PvP. That's just how it is. And currently, Retribution Paladin has a rework, and that rework is actually massively good. They have like ages, like they have Divine Protection, so basically a 30% damage reduction ability for 8 seconds, which is a 1-minute cooldown and can be used in stuns. And we have Astral Shift, which is a 1.5-minute CD, 12 seconds, 40%, which is cool, or 60% with the talent, but cannot be used in stuns. And they have Shield of Vengeance. We do not have any actual shielding. They have Divine Shield. We do not have immunities, at least until 10.1. They have Bop. We do not have Bop. They have actually Spell Warding now. We do not have that. So you see that there is a few differences that really Enhancement Shaman really struggles, and they both are hybrids. So there is no real redeemable factor if you compare those two. Of course, you don't have to compare them. You can still have success in Soul Shuffle, still have success in trees, but now you're going to play with versus a Retribution Paladin every single game. Every single Soul Shuffle, you're going to face one. So I feel like it's too difficult for you to actually climb reliably. That's why I'm asking you guys, and also myself, to not Soul Shuffle with your main or with your Enhancement Shaman. You're going to struggle, you're going to lose, you're going to think it's because of the spec, but really it's because other specs are a bit too overtuned. So try to hold your horse, try to learn the PvP by doing BGs or whatever, or doing an activity you don't care, like for example 2s or RPGs, and then play Soul Shuffle whenever it gets actually nerfed. That's my request. But again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. I want to thank the members of this channel. Helps me a ton. Again, helps me more than you would know. Thank you for the donations, especially a lot of support, the support that I'm getting from a lot of people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, if you have questions, ask it, shoot it in comments. I would always try to respond as best as possible. And if anything, I will wish you good luck with the Enhancement Shaman dream. Again, in 10.1 it will be better, for sure, but we have to stick together and climb and do our best to actually get our goals till the end of the season. Again, thank you, have a great day, and be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.